At this point, you should have put in all of the XML and the strings and gotten your app up and running to the point where you can see the interface elements on the emulator. So if it does it have the expected interface elements? Good. So we need to connect the buttons in the text view to the Java in the Java file. We do that by making text views and button objects. So the first step here is to create a text view called mStationTextView. And the place you're going to do that is in your tuneActivity.java. And the specific place you're going to do that is within your class, but outside of any methods. Within your class, but outside of any methods. So we're going to say station, so we're going to make a text view called mStationTextView. Text view mStationTextView, semicolon. That's kind of like saying int x semicolon. We're going to make a place to store a value of type, in this case, text view. We have red marks because it doesn't know what a text view is. That can be resolved by Command-Shift-O, which will import the widget that will let us have a text view. Good stuff, good stuff. So we only have one text view. We only need to do one of those. Now, in our onCreate method, we need to connect the text view to the StationTextView interface element that we made in the XML. So inside our onCreate, somewhere after we've set our content view, we need to assign that variable, and that happens inside onCreate, right down here. We need to set mStationTextView to be equal to something, and that something is the text view we get by using the findViewById method for asking our R file for the ID for StationTextView. It's really confusing, but this is going to link together the Java with the XML. So we need a text view, and just to pause here and give you a life skill, whenever you put a data type, it could be int, double float, string, whatever, in this case it's text view, whenever you put one of those inside parentheses, it's called casting. And so whatever comes out over here, we're going to tell Java that thing on the right, treat it as a text view. So if I were saying int x equal 22.0 divided by 7.0, 22 divided by 7 is not going to give you an integer, it's going to give you something else. But I could say take this quantity, 22 divided by 7, and treat it as an integer. So that would essentially lop off the decimal places and store it in the integer, because you can't put anything decimals in an integer. That's called casting. It's going to come into play here probably within the next week or so. I just wanted to throw that out there. So we're casting what we get by doing find view by ID of r.id. And as long as everything is going well, we should get a pre-populated thing. And we're trying to find our station text view, which we called station text view. Bam. Semicolon. Everything ought to be good. Always be checking for red marks. Don't go very far. If you do have a red mark, you want to stop and back up and see what's going on. So we did that. Up next, we're going to connect our buttons. So we need to make button objects, which will involve that Command-Shift-O to bring in the button widget. We need to tie those buttons to the layout. And then we also need to set our OnClickListeners to tell those buttons what to do. And at this point, we're just going to make those OnClickListeners, and we're going to leave them empty, and we're going to come back later and put stuff in. So let's do button, and what do we call this one? M-up button, M-up button, and I can make another one, M-down button. Command-Shift-O will bring in the button widget so that we'll know what we're doing. We need to say M-up button is equal to just exactly what we did here. We're going to cast this one to a button instead of a text view. We're going to do this find view by ID r.id. And in this case, it's going to be the up button. So that puts into the variable the link over to the button from the XML. And now we need to set its OnClickListener. M-up button dot set OnClickListener new capital OnClickListener, and if it doesn't, what I do here, new view dot OnClickListener. If it doesn't pop up what I want here, I always back up and make sure, because it's going to type all that code for me for free. And the only thing I need to do is put a semicolon on it and call it mine. So we now have no more red marks. We have the button, which we found through the R file, which links us back to the XML. And then we've set its OnClickListener to this new OnClickListener, which was given to us by the IDE. Now that says up button is all right, but it's giving me warnings about down button because I have not done anything for down button. So I need to do exactly the same thing. mdown button equals a button, which I get from find view by ID of r.id dot, and it's going to let me pick down button. And then I need to set down buttons on OnClickListener. mdown button dot set OnClickListener of a new view dot on with a capital O click listener. Double click it. It gives us all that code for free. We put a semicolon on it, and everything should be happy. Everything's not happy. Set on click list enter. There we go. You have to type it right. So crazy thing about code. So where are we in the slides? We create the button, and then repeat those steps to create a button and an OnClickListener for the down button, which I did. So that's now it. We have the Java present to handle our clicks. We have the text view, which we'll be able to put values into to display on the screen. If I ran this, it would still behave the same way because none of the buttons are actually causing any changes to this text view.